to the taxpayers of Iowa. Over the past 4 years, we've taken a number of steps to make our state government and the governor's office more open and transparent. These include, of course, the fact that the lieutenant governor and I personally go to all 99 counties and meet with Iowans. Also, I'm doing a Skype Your School event later this morning as well. We have held 2,800 combined public events between the lieutenant governor and I over the last little over 4 years. We established the Iowa Public Information Board for citizens to get information from their government, and the response to that has been phenomenal from both citizens and from local governments. Holding a weekly press conference, which we reestablished when I came back into office, and live streaming it so that it's available for view all over the state. And there are many other innovative ways to connect with Iowans through various applications and initiatives. And we're always looking for other ways that we can make government more open and transparent and accessible. Today, we're launching a new website, rules.iowa.gov, to make the administrative rules process more open, accessible, and transparent. It is very difficult for the average citizen to be able to follow the rules process. This is going to simplify it and make it much better. Public participation in forming administrative rules helps Iowa reform the burdensome rules and prevents overreaching of government agencies and excessive government red tape. This encourages efficiency, economic growth, and job creation. The new site streamlines the administrative rules comment process and makes it much easier for citizens to review proposed rules that might affect them. Now I'd like to welcome Lieutenant Governor Reynolds to tell you more about this website.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Governor Branstad. And rules.iowa.gov is another innovation that really makes state government more open and transparent. Before the website's launch, Iowans had to be very familiar with the rulemaking process in order to weigh in. For example, Iowans had to navigate through 4 websites just to view a proposed rule. And once they found the rule, Iowans didn't have the opportunity at that point to post a comment online. In the past, some rules provided an email for electronic submission. Others offered a phone number, a fax number, or a mailing address that the constituent could submit a comment. Now, with rules.iowa.gov, it provides Iowans with a more streamlined, more efficient, effective process for not only viewing, but monitoring and commenting on the proposed rules. Rules.iowa.gov shows users which one of the rules are receiving more views than others, and how to search the proposed rules. And it looks at rules that have comment period and when that comment period ends. This improved approach helps Iowans easily read the proposed rules, again, provide online comments to the rules, and it eliminates the need to call or certainly to mail or fax their comments in. The site is live and ready for Iowans to weigh in on the proposed administrative rules, and our administration is committed to continuing to make state government more open and transparent, and rules.iowa.gov is certainly a step in the right direction to make that happen. And now I'd like to bring to the podium a state's Chief Information Officer, who we refer to as Bob VW, who has actually with his staff, made this all happen. So Bob?
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. And Governor, we're going to make this pretty brief, but I just wanted to let you know that one of the most important things that government can do is provide access to citizens to the services we provide. And as you heard the Lieutenant Governor talk about that, it has been very, very difficult for citizens to comment, to see rules wherever they're published. But I'm going to introduce to you now Justin Carlson, who's probably the best technical lead we have in the state, to walk you through this, and then we'll have some questions.
Right up here.
Hello, I'm Justin Carlson, and this is Brent Millis, and we'll be walking you through the website today very quickly. Let's start on the website's homepage. From the homepage, website visitors are able to view all of the administrative rules that are open for comment. We also display some popular notices. These are items that have more views or comments or search results than others. By clicking on a notice, visitors are able to scroll down and read through the document in its entirety. And by hovering over some text, they're able to click and make a comment on that specific section of the document. Citizens or any website visitor can enter their name, email address, or phone number, as well as a comment, and send it. Upon sending, the message is routed directly to the agency's rule coordinator, all electronically. And if the user entered an email address, it will also be sent to them as well, so they have a record of their original comment. To the right of the notice document, we display several information panels. At the very top is the publisher, the organization that published the document. We display all the relevant contact information for that organization, which includes the rules coordinator phone number and email address. So if someone doesn't want to make a specific comment, just wants to ask a quick question, they're able to. And we also provide links to the agency chapters and rules themselves. By clicking organization overview, we're taken to an organization screen where we can see if this organization has any other rules open for comment. So besides the one we got to on the home page, we can see all the rules. Back on the notice screen, the next panel to the right I want to make sure and point out is this open for comments box. This displays a nice little countdown that shows how long the public has to comment on a rule. It also displays some text there that contains the actual end date, so if you don't want to do the math, you can just see the end date. By clicking comment now, you can make a general comment about the document because maybe you don't have a specific piece of text that you want to ask something about, but you just want to make a general comment. You're able to do so there. The next information panel is public hearing. Not all notices have public hearing information in them, but for the ones that do, this panel will be displayed and you're able to click view details and see where that public hearing is taking place, or in some cases, how to request one. The last panel is the official document panel, and this just contains some extra information, including the summary title, when it was published, the numbers of views and comments, as well as the document type, and a link to the official PDF version of the document. So if you want to be able to print this out and take it with you, we want to still allow that functionality. By clicking on Notice of Intended Action, which is the notice type in this case, taken to a Frequently Asked Questions page. Here, the definition for Notice of Intended Action is provided, because a lot of people don't know what that means, as well as many other questions and answers, things you expect to find on the Frequently Asked Questions page. If your question isn't answered here, you're able to scroll down and click Ask a Question, and you can just fill out your question and send it, and it goes to staff members to answer. And if it's something we get a common question is getting asked, we can add it to that page for future users. As these guys said, the rulemaking process is a bit complex and can be a bit confusing and difficult to navigate. To help get around that, we've implemented several pages of content to kind of explain the process. At the very top is how do rules work? This is a great starting point. I'd encourage anyone who wants to learn about the process to start there. We provide a rulemaking in brief overview, a flowchart of the rulemaking process, as well as several more detailed pages of information. At the Office of CIO, we're making an effort to ensure all of our websites that we develop work really well on phones, tablets, and PCs. We wanted to make sure that if you're in a meeting somewhere and you wanted to view this rule, you're able to do so on your phone or your tablet, and you're able to comment. We found that we were able to achieve this effect, the desired effect with that, and able to collect comments from phone, which is pretty handy. Well, that's the website as it exists today. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
This,
Well,
great.
It's pretty phenomenal. And I want to compliment the entire staff of the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, and Larry
Larry,
Johnson
yeah.
on the governor's staff. They've been working on this for well over a year. But we're very excited about this. I think it's going to be a great service to the people of Iowa. With that, we'd open it to your questions. Well, just judging from the public information board that was established, the response they've gotten has been much greater than was anticipated. So I would not be surprised that we would get more people requesting public uh, hearings, as well as I think it'll dramatically increase the number of comments from the public because it'll be much simpler and much easier for people to do that. You don't have to hire a lawyer. You can do it from your own, uh, phone or PC, and it's just really, I think, a great service. Yeah. Absolutely. This is a great opportunity for the citizen that has a concern about a rule. And, we do have a process, and we have a rules review process here in the governor's office. There's a legislative rules review committee, but this gives the ordinary citizen an opportunity to go direct and to be able to comment or ask for a public hearing. And I think it's going to be very helpful to identify outmoded, unnecessary rules or rules that overreach the authority granted to the agency or the board under the law.
They can actually do that today. Sorry, they can actually, you can do that via this. And that was the last thing that Justin went through, is the ability to just scroll down and say, you know what, I have a general comment about rules. And citizen can put that in there, business can put that in there. So it just facilitates better communication.
Other questions on this? Yes.
What do you think about the fact that we're sitting here 17 days past the date that people thought things were supposed to happen? The Senate isn't even meeting.
Well,
This week, what do you think needs to get done? What are your hopes and what are your priorities for the rest of the
well, my staff is going to continue to work with both the House and the Senate to try to work out the differences and share with them what we think is workable and what we feel is not workable. As the chief executive, it's my responsibility to execute the laws that are passed by the legislature. And we want to make sure that the laws that are passed and the budget that's approved is something that's workable, and we're going to try to do it in the most efficient, economical way we can. But we're having those discussions with the legislative leaders and with individual members of both the House and the Senate. I understand the Senate's got a couple of senators that are gone this week, and they're a separate branch of government. I'm not going to try to tell them how to run that branch of government, but we're going to try to do all we can to work with them to try to get the differences resolved and get the priorities passed and the budget approved, and hopefully in the next few weeks.
On Friday, former Governor Vilsack, current secretary.
Right.
Talked to you about opening landfills.
Right.
Cows and chickens. Can you do that by executive order? Do you need legislative action? What is this?
Well, we're presently reviewing that situation, and you may be aware of the fact that already Secretary of Agriculture Vilsack has requested that. I support that. Also, our DNR director and our Secretary of Agriculture, Chuck Gipp and Bill Northey, have written a letter to the landfills explaining to them that we do have, millions of dead birds that need to be disposed of, and we want to dispose of them in appropriate and correct way. And we're working with the USDA to make sure that the disease, the virus, is killed. And the way you do that is to heat them to at least 130 degrees, and they put them in these bags, and they do that before they're ever disposed of. There's also, in some cases, some incineration process being used, but we want to be able to do that in the most efficient and economical way possible. I also talked to Secretary Vilsack about the loss that's being felt by the producers and the jobs that are being lost. We're concerned about that. And I requested a secretarial disaster designation. He explained to me that because the interest rates for these SBA loans are actually higher than other loans. That probably isn't going to do a lot of good, but there is opportunity for them to go to their farm service agency offices and apply for other loans that might be available. But this is a significant loss that we're very concerned about, and the impact on our economy could be something that at this point we don't know how great, but we're already beginning to see its impact.
In regards to the landfill, do you have any authority to make sure that people aren't price gouging on this?
Well,
Apparently, one landfill indicated that they were
well, again, it's just like when you have a disaster and people come in to help with the disaster. We have a lot of wonderful people that'll volunteer and help, and some will do it at no cost. But then there's sometimes people will try to take advantage of it and say, well, I'll do the repairs on your house, but then they either going to charge way too much or they never do the repairs. I think it's important in this kind of, and I've declared the whole state a disaster emergency because of this bird flu situation, that whether they're local landfills or others, that people, we want them to be compensated fairly, but it's not appropriate to gouge people when you have a disaster situation like this. So I would just appeal to them to be reasonable and fair in terms of determining what the appropriate fee should be.
on another subject, tentative agreement with President Keith and President Phillips concerning mental health institutes, the agreement with keep them up through December and not to turn them off to private facility. But I understand that as part of that agreement, you're requiring that the references to the mental health institute and the juvenile health institute what's your objective?
Well, we think they're outmoded, and we think those facilities no longer are going to be used for those purposes, so that it's just something that should be done.
Oh,
Yes.
I just want to ask a question. Are you still trying to seek policy priorities, things like the
Yes.
anti-bullying, what other things?
Well, the priorities that I spelled out in the condition of the state address continue to be our priorities that we're continuing to work on. And we're very hopeful that before the legislature adjourns, they will approve the anti-bullying legislation. They will approve the Connect Every Acre broadband initiative. And there are several others as well as completing the work on the biennial budget. So, and I would point out that oftentimes the tough decisions do get left by the legislature to the end. In 2013, our top three priorities, property tax relief, education reform, and our health and wellness plan were all approved during the last week of the session. So I'm still hopeful. I've always said patience and perseverance pays off in this business. And so we've tried to be very patient and try to work together and try to resolve the differences so that we can have these important policy matters addressed as well as the budget issues.
You mentioned that have sort of, or hearing something that you said,
Right.
that you'll be here for the next few weeks. I mean, maybe you guys in June.
I think it's likely that it will go into the first week of June, but I'm hopeful it can be resolved by then and maybe even sooner. But I'm a realist, and in light of the fact that we have some legislators that are gone and the Senate won't be able to will not be taking action this week, I think it probably puts it back a week. So I think realistically, that first week of June certainly would be a target that I'd like to see the legislature achieve.
Governor, would you, travel
Yes, I do. I know.
would you delay those and just let your staff, and so you could be here till the end, or would you let your staff take care of that?
Well, you may recall that in 2011, I was supposed to go to China, but because the legislative session was extended, the lieutenant governor went to China and I stayed. I only have 3 days to sign or veto bills when the legislature's in session. I have 30 days to sign or veto bills that are passed during the last 3 days of the session. So I'm very cognizant of the need to, and I have made trips. I've been to Northern California. I have been to Chicago within the last 2 or 3 weeks. I do intend to go to Ohio around the 1st of June, but these are short trips in which I'm only gone for a couple of days.
So right now, you don't see any trips that you have to send.
No, as you know, she recently returned from a trade mission to Brazil, and we both are actively involved in recruiting business to Iowa, as well as trade missions internationally as well.
And as I'm looking at, we didn't see or hear any of the presidential stuff coming down about the straw poll. Is it more likely that we will see Senator Bernie rise even more and more prominent about this year?
Oh, I think there's going to be a lot of great events between now and Caucus Day. We've already had 4 or 5. You know, we had the Ag Summit, we had the Faith and Freedom Rally, we had Senator King's event, we had this event. I think I'm told that the Manufacturers Association is planning an event. There's also a foreign policy event that's planned. My advice to the candidates is come to Iowa early and often. Go to as many of these events as you can. Go to all 99 counties, meet with the people, answer their questions, share your vision. I thought the event over the weekend was tremendous because it was well organized and they strictly enforced the time limit. It stayed on time, and there was a chance to not only hear the candidates, but then they had their individual booths or rooms where you could actually go and meet with them, visit with them, ask them questions, get your picture taken with them. And I think that is a great format. Yeah.
Governor, you talked in the past about getting rid of the straw poll. You said it's outmoded. You talked about it almost the same language as the mental health institute. So far, nobody has signed up to go to the straw poll, and Jeb Bush says he's not coming. So should they actually go ahead and scrap it?
Well, it is the Republican Central Committee that makes those decisions. They made the decision to keep the straw poll. And I think that Jeff Kaufman's changes that he's made to reduce its costs and to make it more open and accessible have been good. So I'm very supportive of all these events, as I was the event over the weekend. And I intend to be there and participate. And I've tried to encourage all the candidates to come early and often and go to as many events as they can.
You will be on the straw poll.
I intend to go, yes. It's on my schedule.
Are you just being nice about the straw poll, or do you honestly believe that?
I am Iowa nice. And I'm going to continue to be that way regardless of what people say.
Are you believing in the relevancy of the straw poll, or are you just being polite and you want all these people here?
Well, we all know that there isn't a great deal of relevancy in the poll. It's just a particular event that is not scientific, that is taken at any point in time in the month of August. What really counts is the actual votes that are taken at the precinct caucuses in February. And that is the first real test for a presidential candidate. And that's why I've encouraged the candidates to come to Iowa, spend a lot of time, go to all 99 counties, meet with as many people as possible, build an organization, and then the results of that Iowa caucus will be what you really want to focus on. I sure did.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love cheese. Well, I think the renewable fuel one was the best. That was the best one yet. I don't know, even their drink was good. So now my son was running that, my wife spent most of her time there at that event. And I guess that's understandable. I did try to get around and meet a lot of the others. And I thought it was a nice format. I thought it was a unique opportunity for the candidates to kind of showcase, some of the things about their state or themselves individually. And I think people really enjoyed it.
They stayed. I think, people stayed. They went to each one of the rooms. They had a great time. It was a
And
lot
with
of
11
energy. Yeah,
And with
excuse me.
11 candidates, the thing didn't last forever.
No, it was great.
So
Just
that-
a lot of energy.
You go to a lot of these political events and it goes
Yeah.
on and on and on. My wife, who doesn't particularly like political events, actually enjoyed it.
That was
She
fun.
did.
Okay. There are lessons there. I think it is a model to follow.
Yeah.
I really do, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in the process of trying to identify places in the budget that are one-time so they can fund it differently so that they can meet the parameters that the House Republicans have set. Are you concerned this is gonna get into a convoluted budgeting process?
Well, David Roeder, who of course is our chief, is in charge of the Department of Management and the chief fiscal officer for the state, and my chief of staff and also Jake are spending a lot of time with them and sharing with them what's workable. We look at everything through a lens of a 5-year planning, and we want to make sure that what is decided is sustainable, not just for this year or even the full biennium, but for the 5 years. And so that's what's important. And that's the reason why just spending a bunch of one-time money, it still reduces what we're capable of doing down the road. So we have got to be not just looking at short term, but looking at the long-term sustainability of the decisions that are being made and the priorities, such as the commitment we've made to education reform and teacher leadership that requires an additional $50 million every year for the next 2 years, as well as the commitments we've made to property tax relief. And those are important commitments that we made in 2013, and I'm absolutely committed to protecting.
Does that mean you'll have a sharpened veto pen ready?
Well, I never threaten. I just review and try to let people know what is acceptable and what is workable and what isn't. But you know from past experience that I'm not afraid to veto things that I think will not be sustainable or workable for the long term. Thank you.